Thank you very much to the Knights of Columbus of St. Bridget Parish who sent a bunch of men yesterday to our parking lot with a couple trucks to receive your generous donations of food and contributions for the Little Sisters of the Poor. Part of the way of life of the Little Sisters is that they don't have bank accounts or investments or savings, but that they literally go out every day in the community wherever they are and beg for food and contributions. Now, given the coronavirus, they did not want to be going out every day and then coming back into the home with the possibility of infecting their residents. So they're staying home. How do they get the food? And some people deliver it to them, but the Knights of Columbus all throughout Virginia have made a special effort to collect food for them. Thank you, fellow Knights, and thank you to everybody who came out and who generously contributed food and donations as well. I'm affected by you negatively by the coronavirus, and all of us are, living in some worry and doubt about the future. But there have been some blessings, really many blessings that have come my way. And one of them was during the week I received a bunch of cards from our first graders. And they draw the church, they draw me, they draw Jesus, they draw crosses, they're all in color. And they write little love notes to me and tell me that they love me, and first graders, I love you back. So I thank you very much for that. I was a first grader once, and in elementary school too, like you, and I had crayons. And so I learned something though that when I was growing up, I do not remember having a gray crayon. We had pink, red, even white, yellow, blue, everything like that. But some lovely first grader has found a gray crayon, used it to draw my hair. So, dear, thank you very much for doing that and for drawing my hair in full radiant gray. A little boy in the first grade was restless, as probably many of us all are, and not having a very good time sleeping. And his mother said to him, why are you so restless and what's going on? And he said, well, I'm scared. I'm scared of this virus. And she said, well, Daddy and I will take care of you, and so will all the doctors, and you'll be okay. And they prayed together, and the little boy had a good night's sleep. This is first grade, 6 years old. Got up the next morning. He looked fresh and ready to go. Not many of us do, even at 6 years old. But his mother said, you had a good night's sleep, I can see that. What happened? He said, I had a dream. And he said, I dreamed that Monsignor Carr went all around the world sprinkling everybody with holy water, and the virus went away. Well, thank you, little boy, for your confidence in me. I don't know how well placed that is, but if I could do that, I love traveling. I'm not sure I'm going to do that, but I would do it if I could. I also got two little gifts yesterday with one of the cards in the mail. One is a orange pom-pom, and one is a lime green pom-pom. So I'm going to keep these, and all of these gifts and all of these nice notes that you sent me. Oh, this is really good, this gospel story from St. Luke. It's a story about the Eucharist and how the Mass got started. And the really relevant detail to me, it's all relevant, it's all very important. In the Catholic Church, there's always more. Every word has more to it. But what really grabs me is the sentence where one said to the other while they were listening to Jesus, and then they shared the Eucharist, and they thought about that. Jesus disappeared. He went into the Eucharist. He didn't really disappear, did he? But he went into the Eucharist, and they received the Eucharist, the body and blood, and the soul and divinity of Jesus Christ after walking with him and listening to him for hours. And they said, were not our hearts burning within us? Oh, that's so profound, so touching, and so beautiful. Were not our hearts burning within us? Have you had that experience? I hope so, I have, where my heart was just pounding within me. Now, our hearts can pound with fear, then our hearts can pound with anger even, but their hearts were like on fire, were burning within them because of the love that they felt from Jesus and from walking with him and sharing in the breaking of the bread and in the Holy Eucharist, his body and blood and his soul and his divinity, his real presence. It's so profound. It's little stories like that, there's several of them, that later on, when they had a little bit of time, when they weren't under the gun of persecution, that the apostles and the disciples began to put together the Eucharist that evolved into our time. You know, in the Eucharist, you have the liturgy of the Word. That's Jesus walking with them and explaining the Scriptures to them. You just heard that this morning. The second part of the Mass is the liturgy of the Eucharist, where we do break bread, and Jesus comes, and the bread and wine become his body and blood. That's the second part. The two parts are integral. It's not either we listen to the Word or receive the Eucharist. It all goes together. Because in the liturgy of the Word, God is speaking to us every bit as much as Jesus was speaking to those two disciples. And in the liturgy of the Eucharist, we give thanks back to God. Why do we gather? Why do we gather? Let us give thanks to the Lord our God. And it is not that you are to be passive during the second part of the Mass, but that the priest is speaking to God on your behalf. Listen to it this morning. And that all the pronouns are plural. We give thanks. It's all about our and us and God. So that the second part of the Mass, the liturgy of the Eucharist, is intimate, integral to the first part. Well, anyway, their hearts were burning within them, pounding with love, and they went back to Jerusalem to tell the other people, we have seen the Lord. And the others were still a little bit reluctant to believe that. But eventually, Jesus' appearances to them began to, take root. And they began to discuss the different appearances with them. And as they took root, this liturgy of Word and Eucharist began to happen and began to become the foundation of the church itself. What did they do then? You know, they talked amongst themselves. And they said, we got to get this message out. This never happened before in the whole earth. Jesus Christ, we saw him die, and he is risen from the dead. And where has he gone? He has not disappeared. He has gone into the Eucharist, and he is really present there and speaking to us and making himself available so that we may love him and he may inspire us. We've got to tell other people. What did they do? Did they form an army? And they said, we're going to have an army. And we're going to send the army out because the first thing we have to do is get rid of the temple priests and crush the Roman army. Did they form an army? Or did they form a political party? Everybody who wants to believe this way will go into this party, and everybody who wants to believe this way goes into this party, and we'll have an army and a political party, and all the right people will believe in the right party, and we'll elect officials, and they'll get it all done, and we'll all talk about Jesus Christ, and we'll all be happy Christians. An army, a political party, well, maybe they then decided, well, we need a bank. If we're going to go out and convert the whole world and tell them all about Jesus Christ, we're going to have money. So we're going to have the Bank of Jesus. And everybody's going to give their money to the Bank of Jesus, and we're going to go out and use the money to travel all over the whole world and tell people about Jesus. They'll know we are Christians by our army, they'll know we are Christians by our political party, and they'll know we are Christians by our bank. No. No. You know better than that. How then did they convince other people that their way was the right way, and that Jesus Christ really had appeared to them and given them certain powers with which they could speak and convince other people? Was it their army and their political party and their bank, do you think? No, you know better than that. People will know we are Christians by our love. People will know we are Christians by our love. It seems to me that the church has a unique responsibility and a beautiful God-given opportunity during the terrible turmoil of the coronavirus. It's all horrible. It is all really horrible. And many are discouraged, and many are really upset, and really, many people are frightened. And yet we have a unique opportunity, a God-given chance to do something very beautiful for the world close around us and for the world in which we live. But it will take more than just like wishing that to happen. Oh, I wish we had the army or the political party or the bank. All of those will disappoint you. Love the army, pray for the military, the Navy, the Marine Corps, the Coast Guard. Love them. It's not about that. But they are not meant to evangelize the world. They are not meant to create a church in the image and likeness of God Himself. So how would we get through, but more than get through, use the opportunity of the coronavirus to speak the word of Christ in the world? Well, you got to have a little discipline. You can't just think that somebody else will do it. You can't just wait for the Pope or the bishop or the pastor or anybody just to do that. You have to have some discipline so that you will try a little love. And in case you forgot, and you might, I do from time to time, in case you forgot, this is exactly what love looks like, and it starts, where does charity begin? It starts at home, but it doesn't end there. It goes well beyond the home, to the home of our community, to the home of our state, to the home of our country, and to the home that God has given us in the world. Love is always patient and kind. Love is never jealous. Love is never boastful or conceited. It is never rude or selfish. Love does not take offense and is not resentful. Love takes no pleasure in other people's sins, but delights in the truth. Love is always ready to excuse, to trust, to hope, to endure whatever comes. Love does not come to an end. Try a little love. Have the discipline and read that every single day. Do not miss a day. 1 Corinthians 13, 1 Corinthians 13, 1 Corinthians 13. Read that every day. You've heard, and you might believe, that you become what you eat. Well, you can also become what you read. If you read it long enough, and we read enough trash, all of us, and enough dissension and enough hate, read 1 Corinthians 13. Do it. You will become it. And Jesus, who is love in the flesh, will get us through this.